Coming up on Mornings on the Hill, breaking news out of Baltimore, an accident causing a bridge to collapse.
We advise the entire bridge, the entire key bridge in the harbor.
SU goes head-to-head with UConn in a tough matchup.
Good morning, I am Zatazia Duffy, and it is a cloudy day here in Central New York. I'll have more details on our forecast and so much more coming up on Mornings on the Hill.
Good morning, I'm Kristen Lilly. Thanks for joining us for Mornings on the Hill.
And I'm Dipanjali Sharma. Here's a look at today's top story.
Chilling news this morning as Baltimore is facing a mass casualty multi-agency incident. The Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed into the Patapsco River after being struck by a cargo ship.
Footage shows the container ship approaching the bridge and crashing directly into one of the support columns. A large section of the bridge immediately collapsed. Authorities say the rescue crews are searching for at least 7 people in the water.
About 01:50 hours, our first unit arrived on scene and reported a complete collapse of the Key Bridge. We were also given information at that time that there were likely multiple people on the bridge at the time of the collapse, and that as a result, multiple people were in the water.
2 people have been rescued from the water, with one taken to the hospital in serious condition. Baltimore police say there is no evidence of terrorism.
The ship was chartered by mayors carrying cargo. No company crew or personnel were on board as it was being operated by charter vessel company Synergy Group. The governor of Maryland has declared a state of emergency. The snow is melting outside, but should you be wearing a jacket today?
Zatazia Duffy joins us live with our current conditions.
Good morning. It is a cloudy day out here, but if you look up at the sky, you can see the sun trying to peek its way through. It's currently 34 degrees outside, but it feels a little bit cooler than that due to the winds coming in at 9 miles per hour from the east. If I were you walking into campus today, I would be sure to put on a jacket, maybe even a hat to keep the head covered, because it is still pretty chilly out here. More on our weather forecast coming soon. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Zatazia Duffy.
It was close, but no cigar for the SU women's basketball team last night.
Jonathan Kinane joins us live for a look at how the Orange almost pulled off a huge upset over UConn.
Well, thanks, guys. It could only be described as a dream season for SU women's basketball. An NCAA tournament win over Arizona on Saturday, setting up a big match on against UConn. SU 0-3 against the Huskies in the Big Dance, losing by an average of 33 points a game. But this one last night was a lot closer. A 72-64 win for the Huskies over the Orange, trailing by 11 at half, keeping the game close after Deasia Fair came alive in the second half. Georgia Woolley and Sophie Burrows also having strong shooting games in this one. SU making 13 three-pointers. The output was the best of the season for the Orange, but behind 30 points from Paige Beckers. Huskies just a little too much in this game. Deasia Fair does move to 3rd all-time in the women's basketball scoring charts, but tough one for the Orange. I'll have an extended look at sports with a full highlights and reaction later. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Jonathan. The New York State Department of Health has adopted new guidelines for COVID-19 cases.
Mike Ostrowski joins us live on campus to discuss how SU is applying these new standards.
The CDC released new guidelines regarding the spread of COVID-19, which have since been adopted here in New York State. Here on the campus of Syracuse University, one specific change that's now in effect is students will no longer have to isolate for 5 days after testing positive. According to the CDC, which again has been adopted by New York State, individuals can resume normal activities 24 hours after symptoms start to improve and a fever disappears without taking medication for it. If symptoms do persist, it is still advised that you stay home beyond those 24 hours. If you do have to go out in public, especially in crowded indoor spaces, you are still advised to wear a mask. Also, with SU students, you no longer have to self-report your cases to the Barnes Center, instead trusting that you will isolate if need be. We will continue to monitor the situation, and if there are any more COVID-related updates, we'll share them with you. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Mike Ostrowski.
Syracuse police are searching for the remains of a 5-year-old girl. According to the police, the kindergartner's mother beat her to death. 29-year-old Latasha Mott admitted to hitting her daughter, Nefertiti Harris, multiple times with a belt in the shower.
Mott told police that she hid the body in a wooded area to avoid a criminal investigation. Police are focusing their search on the woods behind an apartment on Salt Springs Road, a few blocks just from HW Elementary School. Mott is being charged with the first-degree manslaughter and concealment of a corpse. The Powerball jackpot continues to grow, but there was no grand prize winner in the Powerball drawing last night.
According to the lottery's website, 2 players, one in New York and one in Florida, won $1 million each. As for the Mega Millions, the next drawing is Tuesday night, and the jackpot is at $1.1 billion. You've probably seen the Stanley Quencher Cups trending all over social media.
Some of the cups even reselling for over $200 on eBay. Our Whitney Williams gives us insight on how Stanley achieved this hype.
These Stanley Quencher Cups have people going crazy all over. Everybody wants one. And that craze is no different right here in central New York. According to CNBC, Stanley has jumped in sales by $700 million in the last 3 years. What's even more interesting about Stanley is that the brand has been around for over a century, but only experienced a significant increase in sales and popularity in the last few years. And this popularity only peaked even more between last Christmas and this February, when Stanley dropped limited edition Quencher Cups. So I sat down with an advertising expert at Russell to find out how did Stanley get so viral so rapidly. And he told me 2 words: social media. He says Stanley relies heavily on peer influencing for their success.
You know, if I put something out there and you like it, you like it, and then you share it to all your friends and your friends share it, that's all free to me. You know, I may have paid for that initial attempt to get to you, but after that, it's free.
A prime example is the viral Stanley car fire video. One lady posted a TikTok showing the charred remains of the inside of her car, where the only item that remained intact post-fire was her Stanley Cup. This video received nearly 100 million views, with Stanley responding by buying the lady a brand new car.
Take a guess that it was $40,000, right, to get her a new car. Look at the publicity they got for doing that. Look at the publicity, they got from her. And you put all that together, that is a bargain. That is super cheap.
And this publicity and peer influencing is exactly what made these Central New Yorkers buy into Stanley.
So many people have it and love it, so I wanted to kind of join the trend.
A lot of my friends had them here, and I was like, honestly, like, it's a little expensive, but I feel like it was worth it.
Russell says Stanley also changed their cup design to help with their virality and attract a greater market, just like Apple did with their iPods.
When they first came out, they were one shape, and then a year later they changed shapes, and then they would change colors, and then they would change shapes again. They didn't get any better. They just got different, and everybody wanted to be seen as having the latest one.
Russell says internet and social media advertising now make up more than half of the total advertising spent by most large brands, all because social media is where the eyes are. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Whitney Williams.
Coming up on Mornings on the Hill, taking a deeper dive into an offensive lineman on the Syracuse football team, aiming to make his mark on the field.
And a full look at your weather forecast.
Time to check your weather for today.
Zatazia is in studio with a look at your full weather forecast.
Thanks to Panjali. So it is currently 34 degrees here in Syracuse, but it's feeling more like 27 degrees because of the winds we are experiencing now. Now let's get into our weather for tomorrow. The day will begin cold and will remain chilly throughout. You may want to tap into your inner Rihanna and take out your umbrella because it'll be a wet day with scattered drizzles happening throughout the day and well into the night. As we approach Easter weekend, you may like to know that your Easter egg hunts will not be rained out. On Thursday, you can put your umbrellas away because the conditions will be dry. The high temperature will be 48 degrees and partly cloudy, and the low will be 31 degrees. This weather Friday and Saturday will also be similar, but just a few degrees cooler. On Saturday, the high will be 47 degrees and the low will be 32 degrees. And on Sunday, the skies will be partly cloudy with a high of 46 degrees and a low of 30. And on Monday, it will be 49 degrees and cloudy. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Zatazia Duffy. Back to our anchors at the desk.
Turning our attention to Syracuse University sports news. New head coach Fran Brown ushering in a new era of SU football with help from a veteran.
Josh Crawford has more on the new era of SU football with an old familiar face.
Thanks, Deponjali. Joe is one of the few guys from the volunteer state to join me up here in upstate New York. And he definitely talked to me about it being a culture shift from Nashville and his first college, Richmond, up here in Syracuse. But for Joe, none of that matters, but all that matters is getting his last shot at the NFL. Joe Moore is an anomaly in many ways. He's going into his 7th year of college football after receiving a medical red shirt last year. He's been a part of 2 different coaching staffs, despite having been at the same school for less than 8 months. But he's also finishing up his college career over 850 miles from his hometown of Franklin, Tennessee, a suburb of Nashville.
The cool thing about Franklin is it's like I'm at my house, I can drive 15 minutes north, and I'm in the middle of the country. We're out riding 4-wheelers, like shooting guns, doing some just country shit. And then you drive 15 minutes the other direction, and you're in Nashville, downtown Nashville, big city. So it was really cool because it's kind of you get the best of both worlds.
Joe wasn't even supposed to sniff Division I football. However, after a massive growth spurt between his junior and senior years of high school, he instantly turned himself into a 3-star prospect and a bona fide FCS offensive tackle.
Going into my junior year of high school, I was 5'10", 150 pounds maybe, and I hit a massive growth spurt and got to like 6'3", like 230, and yeah, a little bit of God there, a little bit of hard work.
After 4 years and 41 career starts at Richmond, he had a plethora of options after entering the transfer portal. After narrowing down his finalists to a list that included Tulane and Memphis, Joe committed to Coach Baber's staff last December. But 2023 was a year of transition for Joe. He kicked inside after playing 4 years of right tackle, sustained some injuries that limited him to 29 snaps, and got into what he called a very hectic process on deciding whether or not he stayed after Coach Babers was fired.
That was a whole crazy situation with how that all played out, and for a while it was pretty hectic and no one really knew what was going on. So at the time I was thinking I'm just gonna stick it out at Syracuse, just no matter what happens with these coaches, because I don't know how well of an opportunity I'd get somewhere else, especially not knowing if I'm even gonna have the extra year. But then as Coach Fran and his whole staff started coming in, that changed to, man, I really want to stay because I believe in these guys and what these guys are doing.
Out of all the new and exciting things the new head man is bringing into the program, Joe says a reduced sense of work ethic for the team is at the top of the list.
I think one thing that's really changed is the team's work ethic. It's really a whole new mindset on the whole team. And so the work ethic and the mindset of this team is really improved.
Now, Joe is one of those guys that is going to be a graduate transfer that Coach Fran leans on with a litany of Georgia transfers, including Zed Haynes and Jackson Meeks, to solidify their expectations for this SU football team. So with Joe, Enrique Cruz, and Kalen Ellis coming back from injury, this should be a solidified offensive line with a star power at Kyle McCord at quarterback. Josh Crawford, more on the Hills.
Entering the second week of ACC play, and it's one of the biggest weeks of the season for the Syracuse men's lacrosse team as they're traveling to South Bend, Indiana to take on the #1 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. With new rankings just coming out the other day, Notre Dame has moved up to the 1 spot, while Syracuse moved up 3 spots, jumping from 6 to 3. Syracuse's last victory came against Notre Dame just in 2018, so they still had a while ago, and we're going to see if they're going to be able to pull it out, coming up on Saturday. They won 10-6 on their home turf last 2018. Now this season, the Orange are off to their best start since 2017 with a 9-2 record, taking down top-ranked teams along the way. And then for Notre Dame, meanwhile, they are reclaiming the top spot, and it's no surprise given they are the reigning national champions. And then with two of the best attackmen in the entire nation with Chris and Pat Kavanaugh leading Notre Dame, ND stands at 5-1, their last win coming against Michigan nearly 2 weeks ago. Another top-ranked matchup as we switch to Syracuse women's lacrosse team, flipping the script basically entirely from the men's to women's because Loyola hasn't beaten the Orange since 2015. Loyola enters this matchup as one of the hottest teams in the country with a 9-0 record this season, including 4 wins against ranked opponents. Fresh off another impressive win, Syracuse is riding high after defeating 9th-ranked Virginia this past Saturday. Syracuse had to overcome an early 4-goal deficit in this game early on, down by 4. It's Maddie Baxter cuts the lead to just 3. Jumping right out of the half, tied up at 9, Olivia Adamson taking it up and finds Baxter again, who had a career-high 5 goals on the day. Neither team was kind of pulling away from this game as it kept going back and forth, back and forth. Here's Virginia, who ties it right back up. And then we're going to jump into the late 4th quarter, tied up at 14. Emma Tyrell for the Orange gets it inside and gives the Orange the lead, and eventually that'll be the game winner as Syracuse will knock off 9th-ranked Virginia 15-14. This is the Orange's 3rd win against a top 10 opponent this season. It extends the Cuse winning streak to 4. The 5th-ranked Orange take on the 7th-ranked Loyola Maryland Wednesday in the JMA Wireless Dome at 4.
Well, thank you, Patty. Opening day right around the corner in the MLB, but we're focused on a different kind of spring ball here at SU. The football team opening spring practice, Fran Brown and the Orange now working up to the spring game on April 20th. And you know what? That season opener just 5 months out against Ohio. Busy times on the Hill, but Patty, I know you had a chance to take a look at one of the professional teams here in Syracuse.
Yeah, we're going to go behind the scenes with the Syracuse Crunch, the local hockey team. So how do they run their social media accounts? Well, we'll find out more coming up on Mornings on the Hill.
Welcome back. The Syracuse Crunch have been a staple of the Salt City for 30 years, building a dedicated fan base.
But what goes into keeping these fans satisfied? Our Zach Priest and Patrick Smith got behind the scenes.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, Patrick and I got to head over to the War Memorial Arena over the weekend and just kind of investigate or just kind of look into what happens behind the scenes with some of the content production and how these teams kind of create some of their fan content on YouTube and Instagram and such.
Yeah, we got to listen to one producer, the video producer for the Syracuse Crunch, and we kind of learned a lot.
We did. Let's take a look.
You sit down, relax, and it's time to watch some Crunch content. But then you wonder, how exactly does this content get from, well, wherever it comes from, to your eyes? We asked some Crunch fans.
Honestly, we really don't know. Obviously, there's like a couple workers, and then they put them into like an editing software, and they get all the clips together, and then they make it so that they get all the clips to form one video.
Well, Devin, you're right.
So, Patrick, I don't know either. What does go into the video board stuff? Well, actually, I know a guy. We should go ask him. Let's go.
Kurt Militi, the video producer for the Syracuse Crunch, is the one behind this mysterious process.
Capturing all the content that goes into the whole experience of the games here. That's the games itself, the goals, the celebrations, the saves, the hits, to the fan experiences, people jumping up out of their seats, you know, getting food, hanging out with their kids, buying merch, things like that.
Kurt made it clear video producers must curate content in creative ways.
But there's more to being a video producer than just capturing the action.
One of my favorite projects that I've done here is our scheduled release video that came out this past summer. A lot of work went into that. It was a very editing heavy video, and it was a challenge. I feel like it was kind of a culmination of like my style.
So how does everything piece together? Well, himself along with 1 or 2 interns film content, which Kurt then takes to his office and edits using Adobe products.
This may sound easy, but Kurt says it's far from it.
All of the aspects of filming and audio and lighting and then coloring and editing and, you know, motion graphics, things like that. So it can be a little challenging at times, but I find it to be a fun challenge.
And although the days are long, Kurt still has a lot of memorable moments.
And when it comes to the content that gets displayed right there on the video board, Kurt says it's a little more than memorable.
I mean, that makes it for me, like, that's where I'm happiest. I think my main goal is just to make content that people love.
And exactly, there's so much stuff that goes in behind the scenes. You know, me even, and I'm involved to some degree in media, I would have had no idea all the time that goes into this, all the different people are involved. He said he has multiple different interns shooting stuff. What are a couple things that the general public, they might consume the YouTube content, but they don't know really what goes into it?
Yeah, funny enough, I was an intern for Kurt last fall, and you know, it's a lot of time consumption. There's so much that Kurt just said that goes behind the scenes that takes a really long time in order to do. So
yeah, it's really is a convoluted process, but the product is beautiful. Back to you guys.
Well, that's going to do it for us today on Mornings on the Hill. I'm Kristen Lilly. Follow us on social media.
I'm Dipanjali Sharma. Thanks for watching The Orange Nation. We'll see you next Tuesday, live at 10 a.m. right here on ODN.